kick it off?
Yeah, of course. No, thanks, Amy, for jumping in. I'm excited that you're excited. We are so excited for today's event as well. Aloha, everybody. Good morning. I'm Mari Cam. I'm this year's HSMAI Hawaii chapter president, and I'm very happy to be here to welcome you today to our first event of the year. As the leading global association for sales, marketing, and revenue management professionals, representing all segments of the hospitality industry and our partners, we're committed to providing our members with the insight and expertise that they need to excel. As such, we have a series of monthly events already planned for the year, and we're very excited to have you join us today for what will be a very engaging and educational event. I also wanted to extend a very special thank you to our sponsor for today's event, Ka'anapali Beach Hotel, Hawaii's most Hawaiian hotel. And before we start, just a couple of housekeeping notes. Everyone is initially muted for today's session. So if you have any questions for our speakers, please feel free to drop them into the chat as we go. Also, today's session will be recorded and available for you to access to view after the event ends. And with that, I'd like to introduce you to our moderator for today's session, our Chapter VP of Education and Events, Dan Waxman.
Thanks, Mari. Can I just share the screen for a second?
Yeah.
All right, awesome. Thanks. Oh, aloha, everybody, and thank you for joining us. This is actually a record-breaking attendance for us. So I think it has to do with me and Mari, but it may be something else. I'm not sure. But we have a fantastic event today with Glenn and Anthony. And I have to say that I'm a little bit of a fanboy of Glenn and Anthony. And I'm sure Anthony doesn't remember this, but we actually met at High Tech a bunch of years ago. He was nice enough to spend some time. We talked about growing up in Brooklyn together, not together, but we talked about our own experiences growing up in Brooklyn. And he was nice enough to chat with me for a while. He even threw a shaka for me for our company newsletter. So I took that. That was great until he called security to remove me, but you know, things happen.
You know, it was funny. I don't hear your Brooklyn accent until you just say letter. You said letter.
It comes out. It comes out. So that's my quick intro. I don't have a picture of me and Glenn because of the restraining order, but I am huge fans of these guys.
You promised you weren't going to bring that up.
Well, isn't that a picture of Glenn right there? Oh, no, that's Bernie. I thought that was Glenn.
No, that's actually me in 20 years.
I'm huge fans of these guys, and I think a lot of you are as well because we've had record-breaking attendance on this call. So I want to jump right into it. I think most people know Glenn and Anthony already, but I thought it would be good for them just to give a quick intro of themselves and maybe tell us a little bit about what they're working on these days.
Well, I'm Anthony Melchiorri, and I've been in business since 1987. I started when I was in the Air Force at Overland Park, Kansas. I would leave the Air Force, and on the weekends, I would work at Overland Park, Kansas Embassy Suites, the first one ever built, and operated everything from the Plaza to the Lucerne to the Algonquin. Done several TV shows, and now I own a company called Argeo Hospitality. And at 12 o'clock, Monday through Thursday, me and my best friend Glenn are hanging out on our podcast, checking in with Anthony and Glenn.
Glenn?
Hey, everybody. I'm Glenn Haussman. I've been in the hospitality industry as an observer, as a journalist, as a wannabe hotelier for 25 years now. I absolutely love this business. I'm passionate about it. About 5 years ago, I started my own company because I saw a shift in the way news was going to be consumed. So I started my own video and podcast network. And since COVID started, Anthony and I kind of just started doing our daily show 4 days a week at noon on the internet and having a great time interviewing all of the best people. Soon, we're going to be starting up a couple of brand new shows. So check out novacancynews.com and learn all about it.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. So I have been watching your guys' podcast since all of this COVID mess happened, and you've had some amazing guests on your program. Can you give a feel for sort of the breadth and some of the people that you've had on the show over the past year and some of the themes that are maybe coming up during this strange period that we're in?
Right. Well, we've been super blessed to be in the position that we are in because I happen to know a lot of people. We started this show in earnest. And people, CEOs of management companies, folks within some of the brands, folks that were suppliers to the industry, all just started coming on and chatting with us and being open and honest about the tragic experiences that we were all sharing together. So it kind of became like a group therapy session. And since then, as we become more, as we figured out what the rules of the game are in COVID, we started to change our approach, started to become much more positive, started to help give people the pathway to success by featuring some of the top folks in the business. So we've had everybody from CEO of Radisson Hotels to Motel 6 to Jerry Inzarello and Horst Schulze and industry luminaries like Harris Rosen. And Anthony, beyond that, then we also get to feature really cool people at like the property level and tell some of those stories as well. So for me, it's the whole panoply of people, right?
We even had the young lady from Nashville, Tennessee that was there
Yes.
during the bombing, and she took care of everyone. What was her name? I can't, it escapes me. But she was a wonderful young lady and a wonderful, really example of hospitality. And I also think the secret, if there's a secret to what we do, is whoever you are, we don't have an agenda. We're not there to have you, I got your moments. We're there to learn. And so I think people just have a tremendous trust. And so one of their friends, if we have the senior vice president of Marriott, he tells another guy or another girl, hey, we had a really good thing, and people were asking about it, and people were talking about it, and my social media went crazy. And so they feel like it's a safe place to come and to just talk. And 90% of the time, we've exceeded their expectations in the sense of they had no idea they'd be talking about the stuff they were talking about. They come in their mind with a little bit of an agenda, and we throw that out the window because we don't have anything prepared. We have no notes. We have nothing. We go live and boom, as you see it.
Dan, you're on mute. Catchphrase of 2020.
Catchphrase of 2020. There you go. Has there been any thread or theme? Obviously the COVID thing, but anything that sort of came across that has consistent among all the, I mean, you have a huge variety of guests from ops to marketing to ownership. Anything that's come across, or is it all over the place? Basically,
What really resonated with me, and I don't think you hear enough about it in the everyday, is the employees come first. The guests are the employees, and then the guests are the second tier of employees. The guests are second tier. And I think that that's really, really important, that people are starting to understand that we have to do less with more, but we have to focus on the employees in a real way. And I just hope that really stays. So that's kind of like yesterday or a couple of days ago, we had somebody on that said, we have to take care of our guests. And he said, our employees number one and our guests number two. So our employees are our guests. So I think that resonates with me. That seems to be something that people talk about a lot.
Right. And while we tell individual stories focusing on different areas of our business every day, I think you could look back at it as overarching themes over time. The first shows were like, what the F is happening, right? Then the second, theme was, oh, we're starting to grapple with this and understand of what the reality is. Then our third theme, which came around towards the end of the summer, is we figured out the rules of the game. How can we be more successful knowing what we know? Right now, it's all about the light at the end of the tunnel and figuring out the pathway to get us to the point where, as an industry, we could all recover together.
Right. And I think my biggest challenge has been, typically, I don't need to hold back, but there's every once in a while, I have to really hold my tongue because politically, there's some things I don't agree with. So Glenn has been really good because he kind of gets me off. He gets me from blowing up every once.
I'm very scared to talk about politics.
I've seen Glenn pull you back from the edge a few times.
Every once in a while, he has pulled me back from the edge, and nobody knows how to handle that.
So thinking about all the amazing guests that you had, what was there a guest who maybe made a big impact on you? And if so, why?
It's really hard to say because each one of these guests are incredible in their own way. And we have so many great guests, it's really hard for anyone to stand out. But if I were to have to say something, the interview, Anthony, that we did with Harris Rosen was extremely moving to me. Because here is a man, and for those of you who don't know who he is, he's a famous hotelier out of Florida. He's a hard scrabble, made himself kind of guy, had no money in his wallet literally when he started, built this major company that not only has many hotels in there, but He takes care of his employees. He has a health clinic for them. He sends them to college. He's put his whole life into building these people up. And then we talked to him at a point where he just couldn't do it anymore. He was losing millions and millions of dollars a month trying to help people, trying to keep the company together in the way it had been. And you could tell he was so worn down from it and so exhausted from it. But in his heart, that's all he wanted to make happen. So for me, that is something that really stuck to me forever, although all of our guests have been incredible. And I always like when somebody says yes to come on that I didn't expect. Anthony, how about you?
Yeah, I have to agree with you. When he said, I asked him a question, you asked him a question is, have you ever like what are your loan partners like right now? And he goes, well, I've never taken a loan in my life. He goes, I have no loan partners, and people want to come on and give me money and then never taken it. And unfortunately, I'm looking down the barrel where we may have to start doing that. And that's to me where we saw the pain point. That's when he was just like, I don't want to, like, this is the way I run my company. This is the way I control my company. It's employees first, employees last, period, end of story. And you just saw that pain. And then a couple of days later, we unfortunately had to close properties and he had to lay people off. It was the first time he ever did that because AHOA had to cancel their convention again. And that kind of just made him close business. So I would absolutely say he's my number one favorite guest because people saw a self-made person that is truly, it's not about him, it's about his employees, and he's truly, truly humble. So I can say Horst Schulze and Jerry Anzarello and many, even Mike Stengel, who is the president of
SVP of Gaylord Resorts through Marriott.
Yes, thank you. And he really stands out to me too, because he's ran the Marriott Marquis in Times Square. He's done everything with Marriott for 40 years and still just a humble, passionate person. And he just retired. We were like actually blessed to have his retirement party on our show.
Yeah. And let me add, I also feel that we're really blessed to have the platform we are to affect change in the business. And one of the things we're trying so hard to do is create a sense of real equality in our business. And we've made a commitment every 3-4 weeks to focus on those diversity issues to help make sure that everybody could rise up and achieve success, not just at the property level, but at executive level and beyond.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And I must have said 100 times, I'm sick and tired of walking into a C-suite and everybody looks like me.
Right.
I think it's we have one of the most diverse, hospitality is one of the most diverse places on earth. 80% of people that work in the hotel are minorities in our business, but 1% are in the C-suite. So there's something we're trying to really bring that to the forefront every day.
Now, you have all these great past guests and everything. So people, I assume you catalog these and people can watch them online if they wanted to, right?
That's correct. You can find everything at novacancynews.com. You can find them at No Vacancy News on YouTube, or just scroll through all of our profiles, including Anthony's Facebook page, for example.
iTunes and Spotify and everywhere else.
Yeah, for the audio versions. And we encourage you to get the audio versions because you Hawaii people, you like being outside, you like to be fit. You might as well hear what we have to say while out on getting some exercise.
I think you mentioned in the owner who is struggling with having to let people go and the challenges having in closing buildings. And I would guess that at least 50% of the people on this call today are furloughed or out of work, and they love the industry and they want to stay involved and understand what's going on. We had a lot of questions actually pop up from people of, what should we do? What advice do you have to people who are furloughed, people who love this industry and they want to stay in this industry, and what do you do during this time?
Well, I really think this is the moment where you have to really ask yourself, is there something else I want to do? Did I want to be, a baker, a magician, a musician, a teacher? Is there something else I want to do? And if you do, this is a perfect time to do that. And this is a perfect time to get an education to go follow that dream. But if you don't want to do that and you can't do anything else, now is the time to really make connections, really like bang in the door. I quoted something in January that said, don't knock on the door, kick it open. And now is the time to bother people. Now is the time to be restless and relentless. And again, you DM me and I don't get back to you. There was a kid that DM'd me. I said, hey, text me on Monday. He texted me. I forgot about it. He texted me on Thursday. I forgot about it. He texted me the following Monday. I said, oh, you know what? I'm in the car. Call me. He called me and he got to me and I helped him with what I needed to help him with. And so being relentless, if this is what you want to do, there are jobs. It's going to come back. It's going to be the roaring 20s again. I guarantee that. But you've got to fight for your position. You've got to fight for it.
Yeah, absolutely right. Now, I think what Anthony said was absolutely perfect, but I would add, we have a real life example here at our show, because our producer, Dave, was a revenue manager at a hotel. And a couple of years ago, he reached out to me. He was also broadcasting in college and loved hotels and saw what I did as unique. So he started calling me and haranguing me and getting me to like want to do something with him so he could learn. So he came on and I started doing a couple of things, but no big deal. But once this crisis hit, he made a decision to help, and he has made all the difference. He has become undeniably the person that we go to help do everything for us behind the scenes. And he created that out of his own in a time of crisis when other people might have just quit.
Right. And as we throw things at him, I'll give you an example. I think it was yesterday. We said, hey, can you take this on? And he goes, well, I'm not. I said, the answer is yes. And later he called me up and he goes, I don't want you to think I couldn't take that on. I was like, I'm trying to teach you something. Whether you can take it on or not is say yes and then figure it out. And then if you can't figure it out, call me back and say, you know what? This is why I can't do it. I'm sorry, but always say yes first and figure it out later.
And that's the truth, Anthony. And every executive that I have conversations with, they essentially share that exact piece of advice right there. Take opportunity when it shows up and make opportunity as well.
Glenn and Anthony, we have a question from the audience that's kind of appropriate to what we're chatting about right now. Someone is asking, currently, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, of the 140,000 jobs that were lost in December, it appears that all of them, or the majority, were actually women.
Wow.
Do you have any thoughts on that?
My thought is that doesn't make sense to me. I need more context to be able to understand that. I don't know.
I can't imagine. Listen, there are, I think there are more females in hospitality than there are males. I'm not sure, but that seems to be at least my experience. But the majority of
it said there
are
all
women.
for women, but I don't. Yeah. I don't know. That doesn't make much sense to me. We need more. I think we need more context.
But to answer that, it's going back to, there's no secret of what's happened not only in this country for women, for minorities. There's no secret, but this is the time. There's an opportunity now. There's a change in the environment. What happened last year in this country, what's happened in January 6th, there's a reckoning in this country. And now is the time to put your foot forward and fight. And there are people in this industry like me and Glenn and a lot of CEOs and a lot of people in charge that are starting to understand and starting to see that we need the entire boardroom, the entire hotel to look like the country. So there's no, and to use resources with other women and groups and organizations that support women.
Right.
Great. Any other, Mari? So just for the audience, if you do, Mari's going to break in with some questions. If you have any, feel free to put them in chat. The questions that I am asking mostly came from crowdsourcing from you guys anyway as well. So,
I did want to say one other thing. I just saw a meme that I sent to my daughters. I have 3 daughters, and it's Kamala Harris, who she said, "Hey, ladies, make sure you're wearing heels because there's a lot of broken glass on the floor." I thought that was, so it's a new day.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's a new time. Well, I mean, kind of on that same topic, we have another question, just as it relates to the impacts of COVID. But what do you think that the biggest challenge operationally will be actually post-COVID?
I think just surviving, staying in business long enough to get to post-COVID is probably the real biggest challenge. Because when you think about operations post-COVID, I think generally people are thinking things will come back. Human nature is people will want to travel. So I think we're going to be beset with a lot of the problems we had before. But Anthony, as you've been pointing out an awful lot, things are a lot more expensive these days. So that could be a challenge as well, right?
Listen, at the end of the day, we're hospitality folks. We love service. We love people, all that stuff, right? We love being in five-star hotels and we love traveling and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, what are we? We're business people. That's what we do. So business people do business people stuff, and business people stuff is not fun. Business people stuff is looking at P&Ls and cutting expenses and doing more with less and being obsessive. Like I said yesterday, I'm paranoid when it comes to my business. I'm worried about who's doing it better. I'm worried about somebody else got more talented people than I got. So there's no secret to being an entrepreneur or to being in business. Is you've got to see what the world gives you, and then you've got to make something with what the world gives you. And I think a lot of companies, a lot of states, a lot of places, a lot of individuals have done that. I think the vast majority, I think people, after we got over the shock of what happened, I think we all said, okay, now what? Now what do we do? And, Glenn and I were, I think, a little bit quicker than most because we had our podcast available and we just said, let's do it live. And Glenn had the LinkedIn Live, so we can do it live. We have Facebook Live. So we got there literally within, I think, 12 hours? I mean, we were like, boom. So we immediately changed. And what Glenn said before is that change that we did probably helped me survive the first 3 months mentally, because I was too busy worrying about getting the show right with Glenn to worry about the whole world collapsing. So I think what was in front of us, we took, and we didn't worry about anything else.
Right. And, some of the themes in those early days, we talked about themes before, was just like, do as if, just put your pants on and get to work and get at it again, for sure.
Right. And I remember the first week, man, I wore a sweatshirt. I didn't shave. I barely showered. I was just like, yeah. I'm like, I don't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, go back to that first show and it's just us going,
I think that was the first month of us going.
Yeah, seriously.
Anthony, I think one of the first questions that came in, it was, does Anthony ever look disheveled? So I guess you answered that question. There was a short period where you did look disheveled.
Oh, there's a Bernie in there somewhere.
Yeah, definitely the first week. And I was okay with it. I wanted to look disheveled because I think it would have looked ridiculous for me to have my suit and tie on and to be 100% on point. I think like that would have taken away from me because I didn't feel that way and you would have noticed it. And then there was a moment where I said to Glenn, I was wearing my tie. Maybe it was like a couple of weeks later. And I go, I'm going to wear a tie every single day on the show. And I haven't missed a day without a tie. And just because that's my brand. Today, I don't need a tie on this thing because, you guys are in Hawaii, but every day I made that concerted effort to put a suit and tie on because that is my brand. That's who I am. And I feel like that. I feel good and I feel better when I'm wearing my suit and tie. But the first week, I barely crawled up to my desk and did the show.
Right. And I've made a concerted effort to shower at least once or twice a week. So
no, you made a concerted effort to button your button. You look a lot sharper. I like it.
Thank you.
Like a little kid. Look at me.
I think as you guys know, Hawaii is very dependent on tourism. Sure. It's extremely important for the economy here. There's always talk about diversification and growing other businesses, which makes sense. But at the end of the day, we're a tiny speck in the middle of the Pacific that's absolutely gorgeous. So the likelihood is we'll always be somewhat dependent on tourism. But there is also anti-tourism movements, right? And you may not see it as much on the mainland, but in Hawaii, certainly, and in other island destinations. Do you get a sense or a feeling of any things that the hospitality industry can do to try to overcome that anti-tourism aspect?
Yeah. I think that's interesting. I don't know how severe that is, but I remember before COVID, it seemed to be a big deal, especially with the over-tourism issues that were happening. I think a lot of that stuff has evaporated, and I'm hoping that there's going to be a new appreciation for travel and tourism when people realize the city coffers are not being filled up with all of that good tax money over there. So the whole notion that you can run your modern economy in Hawaii without tourism, I feel is, I don't know, Pollyanna or ill-informed. It's an essential part of the engine that keeps everybody there working and fed overall. Plus, you're right. Most beautiful place I've ever been in the world. And I can't wait to get back there.
The thing that pops up to me is, and I agree with everything Glenn said, is taking those people who are the most outraged and the most upset about it and putting them in a marketing commercial for Hawaii. Literally, like tell me why you're upset. Like, tell me why, and then edit it down to saying, we don't want anybody to disrespect our land. We don't want anybody to disrespect our culture. And somehow you can put that into a marketing piece that kind of makes us feel as tourists, like, you've been to a city where if you drop something on the floor, you pick it up immediately. And you've been to cities where you drop something on the floor and like, you don't care because like, that's the environment. When I've been to Hawaii, when I've been to Costa Rica, there's a sense of, I got to be better and I got to do better. And if I got that from a family or someone that was born there to really let me know as a tourist, hey, they love their land. I think one, that does something for the people that live there, that were born there. And they feel like, hey, people are speaking to us. People are asking our opinion and they're showcasing us. So they're taking us seriously. And on the other hand, I think it would work in the favor because people like that travel to Hawaii, most people I know are very respectful. It's not like Vegas. In Vegas, you see people at 4:00 in the morning on a luggage car being thrown up on themselves, rolling through the lobby because that's what Vegas is. But in Hawaii, I don't tell
anyone about that time, Anthony.
but in Vegas, I may have fallen asleep at 4:00 in the morning, a couple of poker tables. But it's never. But in Hawaii, you just feel that sense of culture. And so I think the only way to really connect that is to not shy away from it.
It's a great point, Anthony. And I think that's kudos to our tourism authority. They actually produced a whole set of videos with that, and they're showing it on the pre-arrival as well.
So there you go. See, I'm a genius.
All right. So Anthony, I'm sure you saw this one coming. Your most memorable turnaround issue that you saw on Hotel Impossible.
The 108 shows, 108 answers. I will tell you this, there are 2 or 3 that I can go through, but the thing that really stood out with me, and I didn't know this going in, owners have no idea what they're doing. They have no idea of the hotel business in these kind of hotels. I'm not talking about the bigger hotels, the more sophisticated owners. They think by pushing their staff and saving money, that's the way to turn around the hotel. It's the opposite. Okay. This is a revenue driving business, not an expense saving business outside of COVID. And that, I think, and they did not respect their housekeeper. Glenn has heard this ad nauseum that I am a housekeeping advocate. And that young lady or that young man that's cleaning a room, and after cleaning 12 or 14 rooms, go home, make dinner, help their children, do everything they need to do for the home, and then get up and do it again and again and again, and cleaning all these rooms and not making a living wage is really, to me, has been my greatest, it's been my greatest challenge. And there's many, many, many times. You ever see me lose my stuff on TV? It's almost exclusively because employees aren't being treated well. And coming from a union environment in New York City, I'm a tough person, but I'm a nice person. I don't want to see anybody else suffer. So coming from that environment where you take care of your employees because it's the right thing to do, union and no union, because I've seen people mistreated. I would say my biggest challenge is really not letting owners get away with the nonsense that they get away with. I've never seen a hotel go out of business because of an employee. Hotels go out of business because of the owner. Period. End of story. Either they didn't finance it right. They don't know how to treat their managers. They don't know how to treat their employees. And the worst thing in our business is a scared general manager, because a scared general manager makes scared employees. If you have a general manager that can manage their owner in a good way, or the owner can manage their general manager, you have a good property. And that, to me, has been my biggest challenge. But specifically to one hotel was in New Orleans when I walked in, and it was season 5, I think episode 1. And it was when this woman was just one of the worst people I've ever met. And I hate to say that, but it's true. She treated her people below human, and you couldn't mop the floor with a mop. You had to go on your hands and knees. You were allowed, I think, an 8-minute break. You had to have your break in the bathroom behind the front desk. It was the most disgusting excuse for an owner. And to this day, I have no sympathy or respect.
What about her? What about the rags that she would ration out? Right?
You have to use one rag. This is true. You saw it on TV as live, because as everybody hopefully knows, it's a complete, like the podcast. It's a complete, as we go. I have no idea what's going on. I have no idea. I've never seen these people before. Never seen the owner before. I don't know anything that's going on in the hotel. They put the camera on and I go. True stories. There's no one's being given the script. And I was told that they use one rag. This is live, like as we're shooting, and they use the same rag for the toilet, for the sink, and for the bathtub. That's horrible, but what's even worse, they can't use it just for that one room. They use it for all the rooms. They're only allowed to use one rag a day. Think about that. They're cleaning a toilet and then they're cleaning the desk with the same rag. And if you throw it away before it falls apart, she takes $1 or $3 rag out of your salary. That to me, like I couldn't imagine. I don't want to live on this earth if I'm that person. Like I don't know how you look yourself in the mirror.
You just made 100 people cringe with that story. So
yeah, but it's true.
Mari, any other questions from the participants?
Yeah, actually, kind of while we're on the topic of, how important our employees are to our hotels, there are a couple of questions related to that. Tamara asks, are there any suggestions on how to retain new hires, specifically F&B and housekeeping?
Anthony, this is more for you.
Is that your cat? I love when your cat makes an
appearance. This is Splotch.
So how to retain new employees?
Yeah, how to retain new hires, specifically F&B and housekeeping.
What do you want from this job? I know that's kind of a question a lot of people ask, but really ask them, what do you want? And then when they give you that standard canned answer, say, no, I'm not hiring you unless you tell me really what you want. Do you want my job? Do you want to be a supervisor? Do you want money? Or you just want the paycheck and you want to be gone by 3 o'clock so you can take care of your family? I want to know, what can I do to make you happy in a real way? And if you can't answer that question in a real way, I don't want to work with you. And then make sure there's a lot of lip service in our business, in a lot of businesses, but specifically in hospitality, especially in brands. I love brands, but there's a lot of lip service. There's a lot of, this is our standard. I mean, right now, if you look at COVID standards, there's brands that going out and their CEOs are going out, say, hey, these are our COVID standards. Then you walk in the hotel and you see, peanuts on the couch. Well, if you can't take peanuts off the couch, you're certainly not cleaning for COVID the right way. So I think lip service, we've got to get rid of that. And we've got to really ask employees what they want. And within an organization, make sure that we have some flexibility in having the employees really feel that freedom, especially with the younger generation. They're not putting up with when I was a general manager, when I was 29 years old, if you got up from your seat for more than a minute, I was going to look for you. It's like, what the hell are you doing? You're a salesperson. Go call somebody. I was horrible. And if I had that same kind of mentality today, I wouldn't have a staff.
Related to that, there's another question. You talked about kind of cleaning, right, in COVID, and so Pat is asking, would you advocate property level training with returning employees as well who have been furloughed? And maybe you guys, I don't know if you guys have had conversations perhaps with some people on what that looks like.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Anthony, just 2 days ago, we had on somebody who recently started a company called Blue Canary, and they're doing exactly that. They're helping train employees on the site how to handle this new era that we've moved into, the protocols and procedures that they all need to do so they could feel comfortable with it and make sure everybody is safe. So absolutely, undoubtedly, you need to train, retrain, and then train again with all of these things. As Anthony said, there's people can't get the regular stuff right. Now you're adding other layers to it. Sorry, Anthony.
I have a little bit of a problem with that whole concept. And my concept is, if you're a general manager and owner, do I need to have an outside company tell me how to clean for COVID? You know the standards, you know what's expected. Go to the CDC, go to the AHLA, go to AHOA. They have all the standards.
How about the brand resources that you're given too, right?
What's that?
And the brand resources that you're given.
Right. So to me, if I have to get another third party to come in and train my team on how to clean for COVID, that's a problem. It's kind of like, and this may be controversial, but like brand reputation management. Well, I go on Google a lot and TripAdvisor a lot and hotels and Expedia a lot when I'm running hotels, and I'm looking at my comments in real time all the time, like constantly, and me and my team. So do I need people to really tell me what the internet's telling me? I should be doing that. And the reason you're hiring, in my opinion, like, again, I don't want to get in trouble, but the reason you're doing that maybe in brand reputation is because you're not doing that, and you should be. I'm paranoid, so I'm always looking for that. So you have to train, but again, gets back to stop the lip service. You know, stop worrying about making your general manager happy and your owner happy. Make your employees happy and train them and respect them. But tell them the why. The one thing that we don't do, and I never did really good in my career early on, was tell people the why. This is what I want. This is my expectation. This is the checklist. Good luck and God bless you. And if you don't do it, you won't be here tomorrow. That was the old Anthony. The last 20 years, I told people the why, and I asked them for their input. I said, how do we do this? What do you think works? Here are the CDC guidelines. Here's how we're supposed to clean for COVID. What do you think works? What do you don't think works? And is there something we can do better? So there's no secret, man. The way you manage people and the way you manage hotels, there's no secret. It's everything I learned in kindergarten.
I think there's actually a related question to that is everybody's talking about health and safety, right? That's sort of the marketing message that people are going out with now. So, you know, from a marketing perspective, how do hotels stand out?
Just provide great experiences. I think we're getting too caught up with this COVID stuff. If somebody is going to come to your hotel, I don't think it's necessarily because you've done something special to make them feel safe with COVID. If they don't feel safe, they're not going to the local movie theater. They're not going to the bowling alley. They're maybe going to the supermarket. So I think we're thinking about this in the wrong kind of way. Like you're going to do something magical and all of a sudden customers are going to feel more comfortable. Customers have to come to that point on their own, follow the protocols, make sure that it's clearly, in your marketing messages and stuff like that, because you have to do that, but don't get too super crazy about it. Anthony, do you agree or do you see it a little differently?
I can't agree with you more. If your uniform's not clean and the front door is not clean and people aren't paying attention to me, that means you're not taking care of COVID protocol. If I go into your hotel and you're doing the right thing and your reservation confirmation is telling me about COVID protocol, in the room you're telling me about COVID protocol, people are wearing masks, that's all I want, then leave me alone. Okay, just do the right thing. But if I see that the front desk is disheveled, if I see that the elevator is not clean, if I see there's hair on my pillow in my room, then that, to Glenn's point, and I think it's a great point, is I don't trust you. So I don't care about your COVID protocol because I just don't trust anything you're doing.
I know Anthony Bourdain used to say, although he changed his tune later on, but if they can't keep the bathroom clean in the restaurant, what do you think the kitchen looks like, right?
Right. I can't agree with more. And I always say the parking lot. If the parking lot's not clean and the garbage is not clean in the parking lot and the yellow lines or the white lines aren't painted properly and the signage is not right, then the whole hotel's a disaster because you see that every day. Your guest sees that every day. So if your parking lot is a mess, the weeds are a mess, and there's old garbage there and cigarette butts that haven't been cleaned 2-3 times a day, I guarantee you, I'm going to find hair on my pillow.
Mari, anything else from the audience?
Yeah, we've got lots of great questions coming in.
Ask us the hard ones, the uncomfortable ones.
This one is still kind of COVID related, but Dan had mentioned that he thought his guess was that maybe 50% of the people on this call may be furloughed or in transition, right? So with COVID, looking towards the future, are there certain types of skills that you think are really going to be valued and needed more so than in the past?
Glenn, you can answer that question for me. You've heard me say it a million times.
Well, let's see if I get this right. I think you need to have the same skills as you've had before. You've got to be focused. You've got to be a dedicated professional. You have to have the thirst to learn and do all of that kind of stuff. Things are not going to be fundamentally different when we get to the other side of this. There will be a new normal, but it'll probably look a whole lot like the old normal out there. So when you're thinking about the skills that you have to have, think about how you could be the best professional that possibly could be, not somebody who knows how to be a professional COVID cleaner or something like that. Right?
Well, I agree with everything you say, but you missed the thing that I say every day.
I know, I'm forgetting.
Revenue management.
Right.
I don't care if you're in sales. I don't care if you're in housekeeping. I don't care if you're at the front desk. Understand how the hotel makes money. And how the hotel makes money is through revenue management. So even if you take a class, even if, say you're a supervisor in housekeeping and you want to be a general manager one day, and for some reason your team doesn't want you to work in revenue management to get trained, then take a course, whether it be at Cornell, whether it be AHLA. There's many courses on revenue management that you can take, but you need to understand how the revenue comes into the house. My my twins are 21, my baby's 18. And one of the things they don't understand is how the revenue comes into the house. And
Right.
when they're older, they're going to have to know that. So I'm starting to teach them things that I wouldn't have taught them younger. They've got to understand that a household is a business, right? Just like a business is. So everyone's got to understand how the revenue and how expenses work. And the one thing, I was 29 years old and I became a general manager. I had no idea that if we didn't have revenue, we couldn't pay payroll, until one day I was running this bread company, a famous bread company in the city. And the owner, Dr. Santos, comes up to me and he has 2 brown paper bags and he goes, "Which one?" And I go, "Which one what?" He goes, "Just which one?" Thank God I picked the right one. In the brown paper bag was payroll. And he goes, "All right, pay that this week. And then the accounts receivable pay when we can afford it." Thank God I picked the right bag and we got the employees paid. So we've got to understand, I don't care what part of the business you're in, you've got to understand how revenue works.
And I'd also add that you need to look at the trends that were already established in the market before COVID. What we've seen, and one of the themes that we talked about, is the acceleration of all the trends that were in the market that are going to happen post-COVID. We're seeing that all happen now with like technology and touchless stuff. So good technology skills. If you don't want to work at a property itself, maybe go into a technology company. That might be helpful as well.
Great. Now, shifting the conversation just a little bit to focus more on F&B, there's a couple of questions. Like here in Hawaii, with the lockdowns and the opening and, back and forth, it's been really a great struggle for restaurants, just as, in so many other places. So Justin asks, what's the future in your opinions for hotel F&B going forward?
Less is more. Less is more. Real signature items. I want what the people in Hawaii eat. I want that on the menu. And of course you can have your chicken pot pie and your hamburger, whatever, that's fine. But I want less, but I want it to be better and I want it to be efficient. And I don't need all of the China and all of this stuff. I just want good food and I want something I've never had before. So give me an option that I've never had before. As far as room service goes, I think the 5-star hotels, room service is going away, but you're going to see less on their menus. I think you're also going to see it's going to be more value driven. Also, when it comes to buffets, I think we're still figuring that out from a food and beverage concept. And then also from the limited service, I think one of the things that somebody said yesterday on our show was we need less items. We need good breakfast, but we need less items. People are eating healthier. So I think everything's changing, but I also think it's going to be corporate or not corporate, but hotel specific and brand specific. And I think they're going to figure it out. I think it's the one area that if I was running a brand right now, I wouldn't look at my competition. I know what I need to do for my bottom line. I know what I need to do for my guests. I don't want to know what everybody else is doing. I want to make it efficient. I want to make it good. And then I think that the more you bring the neighborhood into the hotel, the better off you are from a food and beverage standpoint.
Right. And I would say focus on how you could bring people together. We're all starved for that human contact. We all want to go back to what we used to do. So think about that beyond the food level, how to bring groups of people together once we're able to sit together again.
To that end, this Dave, and I'm going to actually read this to you. Dave says, aloha from Maui. He says, what are your thoughts on worker cooperatives that are equally owned and governed by employees to save some restaurants that are doomed during these rough times? The restaurants in Hawaii are extremely vulnerable because we rely on tourism. I believe failing restaurant entrepreneurs will implement co-op models to keep their businesses open by transferring ownership to the employees.
Glad he believes that, Anthony. I mean, if we're talking capitalism, I mean, there are companies that might do it, companies that won't. I don't see it as being a model necessarily. That's going to be the norm.
I think that falls under no good deed goes unpunished.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
So
I like the idea in concept. It's beautiful. When I lived in Park Slope, Brooklyn, we had the Park Slope Co-op.
That's a famous one. That's a famous one.
And it was
I used to
great
shop
because,
there.
in order to be able to get food there. Really, you had to work there and stuff like that, and you got credit on the food you would buy. Now that's pretty cool.
Right.
That's a great idea.
Right. And I did that on one of my shows in California where we made a co-op that if you're an employee, because they didn't have any money, if you're an employee of the hotel, you get to use the pool access with your family. You get on your birthday, you get like a party, you get like a week free in the hotel for any of your guests. You get all kinds of perks as an employee. But again, you don't get paid because it was it was a very it was the only hotel in town. If that hotel went out of business, the town went out of business. So I think in some places it works, but again, to Glenn's point, I mean, when capitalism is involved, it's a problem. And also, listen, to get everybody to sing Kumbaya and work together in that environment is difficult.
But it's something to aspire to. Believe it or not, even in Israel, where kibbutzes, the co-ops are very famous, they have those kind of problems too. Certain people don't do as much as other people, and there's a feeling of a disparity in those communities.
Like look at our show. Our show is based on a co-op. He does all the work, and they get all the credit.
That's right. I'd really like to answer this question from Julie, if we can, Mari.
Yeah, sure. Julie is asking, do you feel meetings and conventions will return after COVID, or will Zoom meetings become the normal?
Meetings will be back, and they are going to be fantastic. Zoom meetings. I love this one. This is absolutely fantastic. Zoom meetings suck. Everything that I go to an event in person for is not here right now. This is something different. This is something that allows Anthony and I to talk to people that are 5,000 miles from here or something like that, right? So that is fantastic. But everything that this does is nothing that I go to events for. When I go to events, I go to meet people. I go to have experiences. I go to eat the local food, to stay in a cool hotel and party with my friends. I only go to educational sessions, and while they're great, I usually only go to the ones that I'm directly involved with. So there's nothing there that I like about these things. Everyone I know that was involved in events this year that were, that were of this virtual nature, they were colossal failures. They don't work for the supplier vendor community. They don't really work for people that want to get out of their homes. They don't really work for creating networking. It was fine that everybody tried, but we got to get back to it. Anthony?
I can't agree with you more. 100%. Nothing to add to that. What I will say on this part of it, these sessions I love. Like I've done classroom sessions for a lot of colleges in person, but I've done more now because everybody's home, and I really love seeing everybody's face. Like I did one from Portugal, and I saw all these kids, and it was brilliant. And I love seeing this. We're all together, and there's a lot, like you get a lot of us like in this. There's not a lot of interruptions. So I love from that perspective, these are wonderful. And I like these even more than being on the stage talking to 1,000 people, because when it comes to education, when it comes to keynotes, I love keynotes, and I did one keynote online, and it was, I did my best, but I didn't enjoy it. And so I can't agree with him more. We like people. We're people, all of us, even the people like me who thought I didn't like people. I actually do like people, and I need to see people. I'm going to be hugging and kissing everybody. So once I get my vaccine, if you don't want me to hug and kiss you, just, push me away.
Now, there is something real and fundamental about these hybrid meetings that are going to be happening, because the reality of the situation is, while in-person meetings are absolutely fantastic and the way to go, economic restrictions and corporate policies might keep people from going to meetings in the same way that they did in the short term. So you're going to see more virtual events, you're going to see more hybrid events, but in the long term, just speaking today to our guest, who was the chairman of NYC and Company, he said they're booking big time events for 23, 24, 25, and beyond. So a lot of possibilities for a good, hearty future.
So like a lot of markets, it looks like I guess I'll call it the vacation rental or the Airbnb market seems to be bouncing back faster than the hotel market. And I know Brian Chesky mentioned that he felt that there's this new movement where people are going to be going closer to home and staying in more rural, not the big cities anymore. I mean, what's your thought about that? And is this going to be an uneven recovery between the vacation rentals and the hotel, or will we start to see them catch up at some point?
The answer is yes. It's all temporary. It's all temporary. It's all going to be equaled out when everything gets to recovery. The good news about Airbnb is that yes, they will maybe have a jump start on us because People want maybe to have a house now. They want to be in a hotel, got all that. But the bad news for them is there's a lot of people that are hotel people that are not going to have great experiences for one reason or another. And they're going to say, okay, I've proved my point that I don't want to stay in Airbnb. On the other hand, there's going to be people like me that really don't stay in Airbnb that go there and say, hey, maybe I like it. So, but I think at the end of the day, we're all creatures of habit and we're all going to go back into the places that we come from. And we're all going to go back to what we're comfortable with. So I think it'll be uneven, but there's this fatal, everybody has this fatal mindset that it's all going to be over and hotels are never going to come back and rents are not going to come back and meetings are not going to come back. Like we laugh at when they said New York's not going to come back. It's like, come on, man. New York's going to say to the world, hold my beer. We're coming back. Like, right. I mean, it's insane. It's all going to come back. And any incremental business that Airbnb and those kind of places got, it's no more different than when extended stays came on the market or limited service came on the market, or there's room for everyone. We were talking about today that we have 130,000 room nights available in New York City that now closed down 40,000 because of what's going on. They'll all mostly reopen, but we still have more hotel rooms than we had 7 years ago in New York City, even went to 40,000 less. So as long as people want, if people want to travel and people want to travel, every one of us, I would guarantee you every single one of us on this call is already thinking about plans to travel.
That's right. And Brian Chesky has a interest in saying what he said. That's what we call bias in there. So while it might ring to the truth, you have to understand where that is coming from. Now, Anthony, I want to get to your point, what you were saying about being stuck in that mindset. And that is something I've been going to hotel industry events for 25 years now. And one of the things that I've seen through all the industry cycles is when you see the CEOs on stage during the big general session to kick off the event, they're all like, the industry is terrible. It's never, ever, ever, ever going to get better again. I can't believe this. Or things are so incredible, we've forgotten that there was ever been a bad time and the good times are never, ever, ever going to end. So I think when it comes to our world and probably the larger human condition, whatever state we're in now is the state we tend to think that we will always be in the future. We don't realize that there's no such thing as normal. This is just a temporary moment in time that's always in flux. It's the yin and the yang. Things are getting better, things are getting worse, and things that go down will always rise.
When you talk to people, even about 10 years ago, when we had to bail out the car manufacturers, like people were like, I remember. Yeah, I think, yeah, it was, I was like, dude, we almost went out of business. Like America almost went out of business during that period of time. And people were like, yeah, my portfolio wasn't that good that year. I remember that. Like they barely remember. And that's what I think with COVID. I mean, how many people have gotten out of their car and forgot their mask? We've been wearing the mask for a year. And every single one of us get out of the car and we're walking into the store and we go, shit, we forgot our mask. Right. So
I got into the Stop and Shop and forgot. I cannot believe I did that.
I walked around my local supermarket a week ago the entire time until I got back in my car and realized, because they know me and I'm there 5 times a day, they didn't say anything. And I went back in and I go, you didn't tell me I had my mask on. They're like, we thought you forgot it. We didn't think it was a big deal. So listen, if we can't remember to wear a mask after a year of wearing it 10 times a day, once we're not having to wear a mask, we're going right back to where we came from.
Great. Mari, did you have any other questions?
Yeah, actually, as we start to wrap up, and this has certainly been so fun and engaging, with both of you, Anthony and Glenn. There's
mostly me.
Well, there's this great question, and then actually it's for all three of you. Dan, you're included. Where you're so vibrant, where do you guys find your motivation and energy to really keep going and reach your goals?
I'm going to be dead for a long time. So I might as well take advantage of what's in front of me. But we have bad days like everybody else. Like I don't know if I told Glenn this, but I was telling my wife the other day, I have one bad day a year. Literally, like you don't want to be near me. You don't want to talk to me. I'm just an evil human. I don't want to be near anybody. I don't know why it is. It's right around Thanksgiving, and maybe because my dad passed away when I was a kid around there. So maybe that's what it is. But there's one day a year that I'm not a great person to be around. I've had 3 of those days since COVID. And so that's a lot for me, because I am like, when I have to like say, why am I in a bad mood? Like I'm really getting down on myself. I'm really getting down on things. I just remember I'm going to be dead for a long time. So it's that's where I get it from. But it's constantly, for me personally, it's, you know, the things I do, whether it be playing poker or whether it be working out or just having not days where I'll tell Glenn I'm taking a not day, and he goes, "What do you mean?" I go, "I'm not doing anything." So whatever I need to do. So I don't really get it from like maybe talking to a therapist, which a lot of people do, and I used to, but it's just that I just keep saying to myself, I'm 55 years old. You know, I had more days than I'm going to have in the future. So, you know, I know when it's over, it's over. So I'm going to take advantage of everything I can. And, you know, how fortunate are we? You know, every one of us, we're very, very fortunate. And we've all had struggle during COVID. I have my dearest friend who was like a surrogate father who lived 50 feet away from me, passed away. I'm seeing people in my own family just struggle with the stress of it. So it's been horrible. But at the end of the day, we're fortunate, and we've got to keep that in the forefront. So that's where I get my motivation. But it's just constantly talking to myself that I'm very lucky and I'm grateful. I've always been a grateful person, and I find my motivation in being grateful.
That's beautiful. I think for me, a lot of it is honestly fear-based, fear of failure, fear of not being able to pay my bills, fear of not being respected by those around me. I know it's a weird thing to say, but that really drives me. Plus, the other thing that drives me is I see the things that people around me have not done and the things that they could have achieved if they just tried a little bit harder. So my motivation is to just try to do one more thing. Always add one more thing to my life. Life is not trying to do everything at once. It's trying to master one thing at a time. So for me, it's adding a new discipline, figuring it out, understanding how it works, making it common and normal, and then adding something else to it, and then continuing to do that and do that. As far as the energy goes, I mean, I do this and then I just go to sleep immediately because I really don't have as much energy as people think I have.
Glenn says he's always 15 minutes from a bagel and a nap.
Yeah.
Which
And I can say that in New York. You guys can't because you got.
But I can't. But one of the things I want to add to that is I do also, like, I was getting bored with myself. It was like, okay, this is what I've been doing for a long time. I'm home now a year, and we're you know, thank God my business is doing well and the podcast is doing well. But I said I have to do something that scares me, and I just took on a project that I'll be talking about soon. That's scaring me. Like this morning is the first time I signed the contract, and I'm formally now in charge of this major project, and I'm scared. This morning I was writing notes. I haven't written notes and really kind of focused on business outside of my own. Like, I'm developing a project for an ownership group that we're partners in, and I'm scared. And I feel alive again. I feel like, hey, I needed to be scared again. I'm afraid that we're going to fail in not opening this hotel where we need to. So, you know, it's just, I find my greatest strengths at my quietest moments, and then just talking to myself. That's how I keep going. But also, to Glenn's point, you know, he's very vulnerable when he says that. He says, okay, you know, I'm afraid of this, I'm afraid of that. And I don't think any one of us haven't had those feelings. Every one of us has had those feelings. And I think it's really important to recognize that. And you know, I think this is not a time to be tough. This is a time to be thoughtful with yourself and the people around you.
Yeah, and let me add also to that think about where you're going to be in 6 months or a year from now. Do you want to be in exactly the same place? And if you put in the hard work now, think about what a great place you'll be in that time. 5 years ago, I started this business. I freed myself from being somebody that had to depend on others for my income and take the responsibility on myself. But I planned for that for a full year, a really exhausting, tough year that made me rethink everything in order to be able to get the guts to move forward. But I thought about it, I planned it, I did it. And no matter how much I thought I was mentally suffering through that year, now I look back at that and think about how much I've been able to achieve because I put in all of that hard work. And the other thing is, I think that every decade or so, maybe it'll vary depending on you have to reinvent yourself. Just figure out something new, figure out new challenges to keep it fresh and move forward. Believe it or not, I started off my career as somebody who was working for a free daytime rag magazine. And then I became a producer at a music video editorial house specializing in 1990s rap videos. And then I went on to do hotel business. And now I'm focused more on podcasts and videos and all of that kind of stuff. Very different things. Keep me engaged, keep things fresh and fun and different in my life.
So what
Fantastic.
people don't know, during the day, he's Glenn Haussman, but at night, he's real Snoop Dogg.
All right, guys, this is great. I think we have to wrap up now. Just to give a quick answer to that question, because I think they asked me as well. What motivates me is 2 kids in college at once and 2 tuitions. That's what motivates
crap, I
me.
got that coming up.
So I want to thank Glenn and Anthony for a fantastic kickoff, our first education session of the year. Thank you so much for joining us. We would love to invite you back in person when the time is right. So thank you again.
Time's right. Time's right. My bag's packed. Let's go.
We look forward to it. We really appreciate it. Thank you. And I'll turn it back to Mary for the final wrap up. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So much of what you guys talked about, I know really resonates for everybody. So it's been a great hour engaging with both of you. Before we close, I just wanted to share a little information on how to continue to stay connected and up to date with us on upcoming events, as well as some information on how to contact us if you'd like to learn about HSMAI. Also, we hope you'll join us in February for our next event. We're doing an exclusive update we'll have an exclusive update from Lieutenant Governor Josh Green just for the hospitality industry on February 25th. We hope you enjoyed today's session, and we look forward to seeing you at future events. Thank you, everybody. Aloha.
Thanks, everyone.
Mahalo,
Aloha.
Glenn and Anthony.
Download our podcast, watch our show, friend us on LinkedIn. Thanks so much.
Aloha. Thanks, guys.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.